and whenever you're ready, sir, you may begin.
You all know it, you've all seen it, but can you solve the Rubik's Cube? Against common knowledge, solving the Rubik's Cube is actually pretty easy if you know the right steps. In fact, after learning the basics about cubic notation, there's only the cross, the bottom corners, the middle edges, the top cross, and the top corners between you and the solved cube. So first let's get into cubing notation. What is cubing notation? Well, it's basically the language of the cube. So if you'll look at your handout, and you can also look up here, if I say R, that means that I'm turning the right face. If I say U, that means I'm turning the up face or the top face. L is the left face, F the front face, and so on. If I have a prime after it, so U prime, that would mean I turn it counterclockwise. Whereas if it's just U, I turn it clockwise. And if it's a 2U, that means I turn it twice. So it's pretty simple. So now that we've gotten through cubing notation, we can get into actually solving the cube. So the first step is the cross, and that is getting this down here on the bottom. And I'm not going to show you how to do this just because it's intuitive and you kind of have to tinker around until you get it. And it gets easier the more you do it. So it might take you 20 minutes the first time you do it, but it'll get shorter and shorter. Anyway, so after solving the cross, you move on to the first corners. So that's this corner, this corner, this corner, and this corner. So for instance, in between red, green, and white, I want the red, green, white corner, right? So here it is, red, green, and white. And so to put that in, I move it above where I want to place it. So I want to place it there. It's above there. And then I perform the algorithm. It's the first algorithm on your sheet. R, U, R prime, U prime. So R, U, R prime, U prime. And then it gets inserted into the spot where it's supposed to be. So I can continue to do this for the rest of the corner. So here's white, blue, red, over white, blue, red. So I'll just do it. R, U, R prime, U prime. And it's inserted. And I can do the same thing with this one. Although with this one, I'll have to repeat it a few times. So you just repeat it until you get it in. So R, U, R prime, U prime, and it's inserted. I'll do it with the next one. R, U, R prime, U prime, 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 and it's also inserted. So as you can see, you just follow the algorithm on the sheet that I gave you. Okay, so now that all the corners are in their places, you can see that the entire first layer is solved. So now we move on to the second layer. So this involves putting the edges in. So in between red and blue, we want the red and blue edge. It's instantly already in there, but we want it flipped. And same with orange and blue edge, and so on. So what you do is you find the edge you want. So it was in between red, orange and blue. I'll find the orange and blue edge, which is right here. Match it up with its color, so orange to orange. And then I look, which way does it need to go? Well, this one needs to go to the right. So it doesn't need to go there, but it needs to go there. So that means I do algorithm 2A on the sheet instead of 2B. So U, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, F prime, U, F. And that inserts the edge. And so this one I need to flip, so I can just put something in there. I'll do that real quick. And now the edge is out on the top. And I can put that in. So I match it up with its color. It needs to go to the right. So U, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, F prime, U, F. And that one's also inserted. So then this one, when I match it up, green, red with green right here, this one needs to go to the left. It's to the right, so I do algorithm 2B on your sheet. U prime, L prime, U, L, U, F, U prime, F prime. And it gets inserted. So you can continue to do this with the rest of the edges, which I'll do now for the sake of time. It's only one edge actually. And after you do that with the edges, you have the first two layers of the cube completely solved. And now you move on to the top layer. So once you get to the top layer, the first goal is to get a yellow cross. Just like you got the white cross on the bottom in the first part, you get the yellow cross on the top. So we have a dot right here, and that means that if you look on your sheet, it says if you have a dot or a line or an L, do the algorithm F, R, U, R prime, U prime, F prime. And now you can see, if you ignore the corner, so just ignore this piece and that piece, that's an L, right? So put that in the back left, and then do the same algorithm again. F, R, U, R prime, U prime, F prime. That gives you a line. Just do it again. F, R, U, R prime, U prime, F prime. And now you have a cross if you're going for that. So as you can see, you have a cross, but it's not really a true cross because while it looks like one up here, if you look over here, it doesn't match here. It doesn't match here. but it does match here and here. So basically, we need to switch this piece and that piece. So in order to do that, place the solved one on the right and the other solved one on the back. So the unsolved ones are on the left and on the front. And then do the next algorithm on the sheet, which is R, U, R prime, U, R, 2U, R prime. And then if you adjust the top face, it'll have all of the pieces in the right positions. So now you've solved all the edges on the cube, and the last part is to get the corners in the right place and then to flip them to the right orientation. So first we have to get them into the right place. Well, first we look to see if any are already in the right place. So in this case, that one's not, that one's not, that one's not, but if you look, this one is. So since this one is, we place it back towards the body to the right, so like this, and then we just perform the next algorithm on the sheet. U, R, U prime, L prime, U, R prime, U prime, L. And that'll switch these three around, but it didn't do it the first time, so we'll have to do it one more time. U, R, U prime, L prime, U, R prime, U prime, L. And now, so that corner was the original one, and so now we have this one in the right place, this one in the right place, but it's flipped wrong, and this one in the right place. So now we have to flip these two corners, and that's the final step between us and the solved cube. So every other piece is in the right position and flipped the right way except for these two. So for the final step, flip the cube over so that the unsolved one is in the bottom. And you remember from the first part how you did R, U, R prime, U prime? Well, you do the exact same thing to flip these corners. So R, U, R prime, U prime, but you just repeat it multiple times. R, U, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, U prime, until that one looks solved, so yellow to yellow. And then after you do that, you turn the bottom face until the next unsolved corner is in the bottom. And do the exact same thing over and over again. R, U, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, U prime. And now you have slices which you can just turn, align, and solve the cube. So against common knowledge, solving the cube is actually pretty easy if you know the right steps. In fact, after learning about cubing notation, you only have to solve the cross, the corners, the edges, the top cross, and the top corners, which all have steps that you can follow to get there. You may think it's boring to solve the cube, but every scramble is different, so I definitely recommend you try it out for yourself.
Thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you.